Reimagining Success, episode 173. You're listening to Reimagining Success, the podcast where we help you reimagine your future, designing a life and career beyond the 9 to 5 that allows you the freedom, flexibility and fulfillment that you've been dreaming of. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg. Now, let's get started on those dreams. Hello, and welcome back. We are back with a bang to talk about not taking action. I know it's ironic, but it's an important one. So I'm sure it's a familiar one to many of you when you have this amazing goal, you've decided you're going to do it, you keep recommitting, a little bit like those New Year's resolutions, right, that we set every year, and yet we just don't do it. And I've shared many times in the past that I've said, I really want to focus on getting more media and publicity, and then I've just not gone ahead and pitched myself. And of course, if you don't pitch yourself, then nobody's going to know that you want to write, and they won't allow you to write. It's very simple. So when you're not taking action, people say, I've got a business idea, I so love to work for myself, and yet they don't go ahead and do it, even to try it as a side hustle and so on. I really love to go traveling. I just interviewed, in fact, she's coming up next in a couple of weeks, I'd say. No, she already came up a couple of weeks ago. Sorry, the time is relative. Space-time continuum is a bit odd when you're recording podcasts, but you will have heard her, Eva Jurgensen, a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, sharing her story of wanting to travel for 10 years plus and finally committing, as she said. It's not just a decision, but actually going with her husband, okay, yeah, we're going to do it. Sold the house, up they went, and they've had the most amazing time and never looked back. So the question is, when you're not taking action, why is that? Why did Eva not make that decision earlier? Why did I not leave my job earlier? Why did I not work on securing media coverage earlier, right? So I have 3 scenarios and have a listen and see. Well, first of all, have a think of a goal. It could be a small goal. It could be a huge goal or project. I'll give you a moment now. Have a think about something where you think you want it. You're pretty sure it's a clear goal, and yet you're not doing it. Do you have something in mind? If not, then pause and have a think. Once you have that, I want to give you 3 possibilities. Number 1, when you're not taking action on your goal, you might have another competing goal that you believe is more important. Now, I say you believe, but it might be subconscious. So let's take an example. If I say I want to lose weight, get fit, the usual New Year's resolutions, and you're not doing it, this is a bit of a poor example because it's not so much a goal, but then maybe my immediate goal, that's the short term versus the long term, is actually I just want to relax. I'm going to sit on the sofa, watch this latest Netflix season of whatever, and I'm going to eat this muffin. And so actually there, I think you haven't articulated your goal properly, right? Because I want to get fit, but that's a bit too vague, and we've talked about that many times. Maybe a more profound example and a bigger one. Okay, I want to work for myself. I want to follow my passion, my curiosity. I want to have freedom, flexibility. I want to travel. And yet underneath that, there's a subconscious competing goal, which is I want to provide for my family. I want to have a secure income. I want to be able to invest in my pension and so on. So, that's a goal that's sort of implicit, but we haven't, and it's not one or the other, but in your head somehow there's something holding you back because secretly there is a hierarchy of goals, and this goal that you think you want is actually lower than you think. At least subconsciously that's the case. So if that's not the case, then obviously uncovering this is really important. If you sit down and really think about what might be holding me back, is there something else going on that's more important to me, then that will help you to reevaluate. Maybe that's changed and that's all you need to do. That little exercise of looking at what your other goals are. Actually, you know what? No, I have that security, or I don't need that right now. I'm single, as I was, 2013 when I quit my job. Security is not the top priority for me right now. This goal of fulfillment and finding myself and traveling was more important, right? So number 1 reason why you're not taking action on what you think is an important goal is that there are other competing, conflicting goals that are more important, or that you believe consciously or subconsciously are more important. So let me ask you first, is that the case for you? Is that the reason why you're not taking action? Now, second, if I should say actually a few more thoughts on this one. If you're not committed to the goal, what could be the reason, right? It could be that this is someone else's goal. It could be something you've inherited from your parents, from society, and you feel like this should be your goal. It could be a goal that you did set yourself, but it's no longer meaningful. Maybe your circumstances, your priorities have changed. When I met Luke, when I then had our kids, we had different priorities to the ones I had when I was a single digital nomad traveling the world. Also different priorities than when we were young and out, working hard and drinking, enjoying life in London. COVID also shifted many of our priorities, right? So circumstances in the world, personal circumstances, priorities can change. So are your goals actually someone else's? Are they old goals that are no longer meaningful? Are they no longer relevant to your situation? And are there more important goals? So I just wanted to add that little bit, that there could be other more important goals. And the reason could be that you've taken on someone else's goals. It's a should rather than a true goal, or things have changed and it was meaningful, but no longer now. Now, that's number one. You have other goals that are more important. Now, number two, you are committed. This is definitely your most important goal. So why on earth are you not taking action? Well, probably the answer is fear. So you need to understand, what are you afraid of? And I have so many episodes and resources on this, but briefly, are you afraid of failure? Because that's a big one. What if I don't make money? What if I look a total fool? I burn bridges. People laugh at me. They judge me. I'm not good enough. I won't get the income. Nobody will buy my book. Nobody will join this, etc., etc. So fear of failure is a huge one. Fear of success, and I've talked about this before, is just as big, if not bigger. What if I get all that media coverage and suddenly all my heuristics, all my ideas and concepts and frameworks are really put up to a magnifying glass, put out there in the world, and people start questioning, and I'm sort of held to account for what I believe is important. Suddenly things become really difficult. Or what if I suddenly get an influx of hundreds and thousands of clients and I can't cope with it, right? It's a good problem to have. But I believe it was Brene Brown who talked about that too when she initially did her TED talk. It was only on TEDx and then it was put on the main TED page and millions of people suddenly saw it and she thought, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself. It's the worst thing that could possibly have happened. So in a weird way, the one thing we all dream of is also the one thing we fear the most. So what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the success actually that would come with achieving that goal that you've set yourself? Not to get too deep, but perhaps if you set yourself that dream weight goal, let's say, are you afraid that, when I lose that weight, nothing will change? I'll still have relationship issues. I won't be more confident. There'll be something else that'll appear. And probably that's the case, right? Because we hang our hopes on this arbitrary goal. Oh, if I only get 10,000 Instagram followers, or if I only get, 5 more clients, but then you always look to the next goal and that success is empty. So this is a big one. Are you afraid of failure, afraid of fear itself, of success? Maybe that's the reason why you're not taking action. So that's number 2, you're afraid. And then number 3, maybe you're completely committed, you're not afraid, although I have to say, I think we always are a little bit afraid, right? So that never completely goes away. What else is missing? And the last piece of the puzzle, the last possibility is that you just don't know what to do. You don't know how to do it. So look, I know exactly my goal. Yes, I want to be that author. I'm not afraid. I know that there's a risk that, I won't sell loads of copies the first time, but I'll write another one. It doesn't matter anyway, because for me, it's the joy of writing and holding that book in my hand, etc. But, oh my goodness, how on earth do I start? What do I do with a cover design? How do I do that? And editing, and what software shall I use? And how on earth do I sell it on Amazon? Or how do I go about getting a traditional publishing contract and all these things, right? So the how then becomes super important. So again, if you're not taking action, take a moment to reflect, take the rest of the day to reflect, give this a few weeks, whatever it takes. Sit down with a pen and paper now if you can. Ask yourself which of these 3 scenarios is going on. And if it's not one of these, let me know and we'll see if there's something else going on. You can always book a call at onestepoutside.com call. That's onestepoutside.com call, or you can message me on any social channel, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm happy to address what might be going on for you. But most commonly, I'd say one of 3 things. Number 1, you're not taking action because there's another competing goal that you believe is, or that is, more important. Number 2, it is an important goal, but you're afraid of failure, of success, of many things. Number 3, You know the goal is important. You're not so very much afraid, but you just don't know where to get started. So which of those three would you say applies in your situation? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And I guess to round this off, briefly looking at why is this important? Well, it's important because it's pretty soul destroying. That's the word I always use, to think you have a goal, and yet to never achieve it. Keep telling people, oh yes, one day I'll do this, I'm going to do this. And then people check in and you're like, no, I haven't done anything. That's awful. You just feel, every year you're like, this is the year I'm going to get fit and start running and lose that weight. Or this is the year I'm going to start that business, change career, build my personal brand, write that book, launch the podcast, whatever. And it just doesn't happen. And that's soul destroying. The second more practical reason is that it's when you take action that all the results come, of course, right? You have to take action to get the results, but also it's in taking action that you actually get the motivation. People say, I need the motivation to take action. No, you need to take action and then the motivation will come. Excuse me. I got excited about my next point. My next point is clarity. You need to take action in order to get clarity. We can sit and write strategies and plan things and so on, but we won't actually know if whatever is something that you'll enjoy, if it will resonate, if it will work until you go out there and start doing something. So action creates clarity. Action creates confidence because, hey, I'm out there doing it. It's not as hard as I thought. And check me out. I'm awesome. And then again, finally, obviously taking action is what's going to get you results. So taking action is so important. And so if you're not taking action, have a think about what's going on, what's getting in the way of taking action. And let's work on addressing that. Let's work on getting a real meaningful goal that you want to work towards. Let's work on building that confidence and resilience. And those are two of my 5 pillars that I've talked about before. And finally, let's get a plan in place. Okay, you want to do it. You're not afraid. You're not too afraid, I should say. And let's now figure out how you're going to do it. Hope that was valuable for you. It's certainly something that I can use even now. There are a couple of things I'm not taking action on, so I'm going to do the same exercise myself. Looking forward to hearing how you get on. I'll see you next week. Bye for now. As it turns out, deciding that you want to create a career and a life for yourself outside of the 9 to 5, deciding to quit your job and start a business is only the beginning. It's a massive step and requires a lot of courage and commitment, but it is just the very first step. Through the twists and turns of my own transition out of my corporate employment and into working for myself, and through supporting my clients and community over the past several years, I've identified 5 key areas that you need to focus on to make your business and your lifestyle viable for the long term. To find out more and to check to see where you are in each of these 5 pillars, grab the free scorecard at onestepoutside.com/scorecard. That's onestepoutside.com/scorecard.